Okay, updates. Uh, I'm hoping by the end of November, I'm going to be using the Black Friday sales. I will have a new tablet, so that I'll be able to do more broadcasts more frequently, and also the biggest thing is going to be able to do research properly. Right now, I've said it a bunch of times, I'm dealing with a cheap smartphone with a crack in the screen where the back button is really close to it, which makes the back button non-functional. So I'm also going to be starting within the next week or so to work on logistics in terms of looking up accessible train stops / subway stops to get, and in terms of not only where they are, but really more accurately where they are in relation to the parks. And then I'm going to be physically visiting these places before looking to submit permit paperwork to get the March for Peace, the Peace March, going. Or at the very least, a rally to be held at a park. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be headlining, starting up an actual march in terms of a march route. But at the very least, we could have a rally for, especially in this case geared towards people with disabilities and for peace. I'll as soon as I have a more definite set of possibilities for that, I'll let you folks know. The date odds are going to be for this is going to be March 26th. So I know someone was suggesting, and it would have been a Saturday, so I wouldn't have done it sometime in November. That can't happen. Even if I was going to do Saturdays, which I won't, the bottom line is that the permitting process, at least in the 5 boroughs of New York City, really in terms of getting vendors for chairs and police permits and all that, in addition to the actual space, it requires at least 1 to 2 months in order to get through it properly. And that's one of the reasons that I knew that when I saw these resist Trump protests that were on specific things, I kind of knew that most of them were fake in terms of the quote-unquote protest element, because they were set up on such short notice and they had police presence as backup that were helping them. You can't do that unless you have connections. Which is to say, you can't do that in the 5 boroughs of New York City unless you know and unless you are, in essence, an elected official pushing this through and making the exceptions happen for these permits to occur. Otherwise, the people that had megaphones and had sound systems there would have been arrested. Okay? As opposed to holding these things and standing up there for at least, an hour, more like 3, 4, 5 hours. That's what I'm in terms of in the 5 boroughs of New York City. So, whenever and again, it's not like someone you can't walk down, the streets, okay? You can't go out and with a couple of friends actually just walk. Okay, you'll get away with that. That's normal. Groups of school kids, groups of people, they walk all the time. That's not going to get you into trouble. But the second you actually try to set up, a megaphone, oh yeah, you're going to get into trouble. You're going to get it. There's no two ways about it. Unless you plan and unless you know someone in power, you're going to get arrested. You're going to get thrown in jail. So that's why, to me, we have to actually start the permitting process, and I will get that started. Thankfully, at least one other person has said they'll help in terms of the funding, because that's going to take, at least some money, which frankly I don't have. Okay. As it is, yeah, I'm planning on buying a tablet, but that's going to cut into my food money, so I'm going to, that's why I'm going to be going to more food pantries, because that's still a mess. But, again, at the very least, I'm glad that it looks like the homelessness risk is, at least for the now, put on the back burner, so I don't have to worry about that this winter. Because to get through the shelter system, to me, is in this 5 boroughs of New York City, when you're disabled in the wintertime, may as well be a firing squad. To me, it's like, that's about even with what it is. So, and I'm going to be finishing a Medium article on that in terms of my husband's experience on that. We endured it during the summertime, but it was deadly. Okay, it could have definitely killed us. We're still here. We got through it. In terms of entry, we entered in the summertime. We left it as well about a year later in the summertime. But again, you entering it in the winter. Again, firing squad. That's basically, to me, what it is. If you're disabled and if you don't know the 5 boroughs like the back of your hand, firing squad, death march, you want to pick your term, and that's to me what it is. But again, you do what you have to do. But for now, I continue the election integrity work. And again, I'll do more work on that, and I'll start to really more post in terms of after I data mine. I'd say by December 1st, December 3rd, and we'll get through it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm hoping to have further updates in terms of my own situation to get things better, but for now, at least, we're somewhat stable. But again, folks, in terms of people who have been following me on this channel for a while, massive money, really to me, money in politics, that's just plain toxic. The idea that you could just in this country just get a job and you'll be okay. Sorry, that it doesn't work that way right now. It doesn't in any way. We're at a level of mechanization where that just can't work. That can't happen anymore. Without universal basic income, it just can't happen. We have 43% and rising real rate of unemployment, more than 50% underemployed. And really, that's why UBI is needed, because eventually, to me, this is the way it should be, is that the number of hours that everyone works should be really reduced from the current, quote-unquote, 40-hour work week or 35-hour work week. I want to see it reduced to being 12 to 15-hour work week. And that, for people with disabilities and other things, that they might even want to work less than that. People, not to say that, people, that there aren't going to be people that are definitely going to work more than that are going to continue with the, 30, 40-hour week thing. Fine, but I want the 30 to 40-hour week thing to become what now is the 60 to 80-hour work week thing. And yes, there are people that do that. But right now, most of them, they do it because they feel that they have no choice, and they tend to burn out pretty quickly, especially the 80-hour. But again, we've got to change our level of mechanization. It's ridiculous to keep going at this rate. And we have the technology, we have the efficiency standards, we have the resources to support up to 20 billion people in this world. All but the top 20 at lowest percent, probably not really more than the top 10%, will have their standards of living increased in terms of getting better. The people in the top 10 to 20%, they'll just maintain about the same in terms of their quality of life, in terms of their quantity of life. It won't be diminished as the rest of the population goes up. What we're going to need to do is get rid of a sizable amount of planned obsolescence. And beyond that, we're going to need to recycle more. But that's about all the quote-unquote sacrifices that we're going to have to make as a society. That's really about it. We're going to have to use what we have, and we're going to have to use it wider. And yes, universal basic income is a part of that in terms of how we support those 20 billion people. Because we have to get the resources more equally distributed. And again, I'm not talking about, and some people must say, oh, you mean you want everyone to be absolutely equal? Do you want absolute equality? No, I don't. I'm not saying that that's ever going to be, a possibility. It might one day, but, the plan that I'm talking about, it's giving everyone a decent chance at a decent life. There's still going to be a hierarchy. There's still going to be people that are considered quote-unquote poor. There's still going to be the people that are going to be considered rich in terms of economically. There's still going to be a middle class. But you're no longer going to have to be the people that, and I'm kind of one of them, that are clawing up and trying just really hard just to get the basics. And where many people would say, I don't really have all the basics. That's what's going to end what I'm talking about. So I urge you folks to consider, think, look around. There's so many possibilities, and we will get it done. Shalom.